This conference will now be recorded.
Yes, hello everyone and welcome to day 2 webinar. So now it's time to start our sessions of oral presentations. So our first presenter for this day 2 is Dr. Marica Cordaro from University of Messina, Italy. Hello, Dr. Marica.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah,
Can you hear
hi.
me?
So yes, so you are the presenter now. Um, so can you please share your screen with us?
Yes, I just need to restart the application. So just a second.
Okay. Yes, we can able to see your presentation.
Can you hear me and did you see my presentation?
Yes, perfect.
I
You
can
can
start?
make it a full screen. Is it a full screen? Yeah, and at the bottom you can find the fourth option that is full screen. Can you click on that? At the right side bottom, the last option. Um,
Okay.
yeah, at the bottom you have an option for full screen.
I'm trying. Just
Okay,
a
no
moment.
problem. The options is only visible to you. We can able to see only your screen.
Okay. No. It's okay now?
Yes, perfect.
Okay. Can I start?
Yes, you can start.
Oh, thank you. First of all, I would certainly thank you to the committee for this great opportunity to show me data about the role of hydrox in neuroprotection. Um, Traumatic brain injury annually affects 1.7 million of people all around the world. It is defined as a mechanical injury and or extracellular disruption of brain function resulting from a rapid brain injury deceleration or acceleration. Causes of TBI are motor vehicle accident, falls, and assault. TBI can induce a host of emotional, physical, behavioral, and cognitive changes. and the outcomes range from total recovery to death or permanent disability. It consists in a primary insult caused by biochemical forces and a secondary injury that has a key role in tissue molecular damage. TBI secondary injury commonly include long-lasting neuropathologies such as neurodegenerative disease and dementia. Several reports described also an impairment in calcium influx, glutamate accumulation, elevated amyloid precursor protein APP, and neurotoxic inflammation. These biochemical changes occur throughout the brain and induce neurodegeneration, coupled with a cognitive and motor impairment. This secondary outcome double the risk of developing Alzheimer's disease-like symptoms. AD is the most usually cause of dementia in the elderly. Post-mortem brain tissue from AD patients show also multifocal axonal swelling, exacerbate inflammation, accumulated APP and amyloid beta peptide. Many in vivo studies showed the development of AD pathologies in the late stage of TBI, supporting the hypothesis that abnormal APP protein expression can be an hallmark of AD pathologies. These inflammatory cell response this inflammatory response in the injured area involved the expression of many pro-inflammatory mediators and the other production of free radicals. Several papers underline the role of oxidative stress in the damaged brain area. Immediately after TBI, the most common detected free radical that support the formation of the other reactive nitrogen or the oxygen species, including lipid peroxidation. Several lines of evidence display the key role played by the nuclear factor erythroid 2 related factor NRF2 in the injury induced by TBI. Concerning this aspect, incoming study report the positive effect of natural phytocomponent as bioactive molecules against neurodegenerative disease. The Mediterranean diet promotes an high intake of fruits and vegetables, leading to the reduction of saturated fats. In particular, one of the main components of the Mediterranean diet is olive oil. And the main phytochemical contained in it is hydroxytyrosol. This molecule has been described as a free radical scavenger and an antioxidant with important antimicrobial, anti-cancer, anti-inflammatory, and neuroprotective activity. Many in vivo studies show hydroxytyrosol beneficial effects in the brain. For example, in the Huntington disease, hydroxytyrosol protects the brain from oxidative damage by reducing lipid peroxidation and increasing glutathione levels. In an oligomeric acid, AB, it reduces the spatial memory learning, thus restoring signaling mechanism in hippocampal neuron. Recent data from our previous study confirm that hydrox and aqueous extract of olive incorporating 14–15% of hydroxytyrosol is a very effective anti-inflammatory agent and a powerful antioxidant. In particular, hydrox is a freeze-dried powder prepared from the aqueous portion of olive extracts from defatted olive pulps. A total of 12% of the hydrox extract consists of polyphenols. So, With this background in our mind, we made this experimental design. So on day 0, we made a TBI, and after 1 hour, we treated daily our mice with 10 milligrams per kilo of hydrox for 4 weeks. Hydrox was administered daily by oral gavage. Our first result was the histological analysis of the perilesional area. And as you can see in this panel, hydrox treatment significantly reduced tissue injury in a perilesional area and significantly reduced lesion volume. Additionally, in order to evaluate the antioxidant property of hydrox by Western blot analysis, we assess the activation of NRF2 pathway as well as the activation of hemioxygenase 1. As you can see, sample from hydrox-treated animals showed an increased NRF2 nuclear expression compared to tissue harvested from vehicle-treated rats. Well, in line with this result, HO1 expression has increased by hydrox administration as compared to the vehicle-treated group. Additionally, the level of SOT, CAT, and GSH compared to the sham animals were significantly, compared to the vehicle animals were significantly increased after hydrox treatment. Treatment with hydrox significantly reduce also the activation of lipid peroxidation and nitric levels compared to vehicle groups. To test additionally the anti-inflammatory property of hydrox by Western blot analysis, we investigated the activation of NF-κB pathway. As you can see, TBI in vehicle-treated rats decreased E-kappa-B alpha expression in the cytol compared to the expression in the sham rats. In line with this result, in the vehicle-treated group, the expression of NF-κB was increased in the nuclear compartment compared to the sham group. Hydrox treatment significantly increased E-kappa-B alpha levels in the cytosol and reduced NF-kappa-B treatment, NF-kappa expression, in the nucleus. The next step was the investigation of pro-inflammatory cytokine. As you can see in this battle, by ELISA kit, we investigated the expression of interleukin-1 beta, TNF-alpha, and interleukin-6. As you can see, after TBI, we detected an increase in a significant increase in these cytokine levels. After the hydrox treatment, we detect a significant decrease of all the cytokines taken in consideration. Additionally, the behavioral alteration TBI induce. As you can see in this slide, we use the Morris-Watermace test to evaluating the spatial learning. In the training period, all groups showed a decreasing trend in the escape latency on day 4 as compared to day 1. In the probe trial, hydrox treatment significantly increased the time spent in the target quadrant, indicated the degree of memory consolidation after learning, which was decreased by TBI. Additionally, by the elevated place-based test, we evaluated motor and memory-related processes. As you can see, vehicle-treated rats show an increase in transfer latency compared to the sham animals. Hydrox administration reduced the time on transfer latency, indicating an improvement in learning and retention of memory. Additionally, we evaluated the hippocampal neurodegeneration, which is responsible for many types of cognitive impairment typical of Alzheimer's disease. As you can see in this slide, histological analysis of the hippocampal CL3 area showed a reduced number of neurons in sample taken from vehicle-treated rats compared to the sample from sham group. Animals treated with hydrox showed an increased number of neurons in the hippocampal CA3 area. Additionally, we want to evaluate if hydrox was able to decrease the Alzheimer's disease-like neuropathologies. As you can see in this slide, we evaluated by Western blot the APP protein, as well as the p-tau protein. As you can see, we found in the vehicle-treated group a significant increase of both proteins. This increase was significantly reduced after the hydrox treatment. So the hydrox treatment significantly reduced beta amyloid accumulation. In conclusion, this study suggests for the first time that the treatment with the antioxidant and anti-inflammatory hydrox could be a promising treatment to reduce inflammation and Alzheimer's disease-like symptoms resulting from a neuroinflammatory response induced by primary and secondary injuries TBI related. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Marika, for your presentation. Is anyone having any questions?
Any question?
I think there are no questions from anyone. Thank you once again for your presence and presentation.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye.
Bye-bye. So our next presenter is Dr. Roberto Fusco from University of Messina, Italy. Hello, Dr. Roberto. Are you with us? Actually, he joined with us, but right now I think he is not with us.
Just a moment. My colleague Roberta Fusco has some problem with the internet connection.
Okay. So we will wait for some time so that he can join. Okay, I think Dr. Roberta Fusco has having some technical problem. So till then he joins, we can continue with our session.
Okay, I'm here. Hi, can you hear me?
Okay. Oh, yes.
Okay, I'm here. I'm just trying to show you my screen.
Yes.
Okay.
Please, you are the presenter now. Please share.
I need to just restart the app. So if you just wait for a moment. Okay. Okay, I just restart and then I will be ready.
Okay.
Okay, here I am. I just need to show you my screen.
Now you can share your screen.
I don't know why. No, I don't know why I could not show you my screen.
Yeah, can I know, like, you have joined with 2 names?
Maybe you need to give me the possibility
Okay.
by yourself.
Yes. Can you try now?
Okay. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes. You can make it a
Okay.
yes.
Just a moment. I need to open the presentation.
Mm.
Okay. 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 So,
It's perfect.
this
Please
one over there.
continue.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm Rebecca for school. Can I continue? Madam, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So good morning, everyone. Good. So good morning, everyone. I'm Rebecca Fusco, and today I would like to show you the molecular and biochemical changes occurring in the brain after traumatic brain injury and leading to Parkinson's disease. In particular, underlying the modulation by the electromagnetic and Coriolis versicolor. Okay. Traumatic brain injury is described as an intracranial injury to the brain resulting from an external force that can lead to transient or permanent impairment of cognitive, physical, and physiological function. Traumatic brain injury can be divided into 3 phases: acute, 0 to 1 week, post-acute, 1 to 4 weeks, and chronic, 4 weeks to years. Additionally, brain injury can link to the neurodegenerative disease, in particular Alzheimer's disease, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, and Parkinson's disease. Several papers describe these biological links with the neurodegenerative diseases. In particular, several studies of veterans who had suffered mild, moderate, or severe health injury showed that enough veterans did not initially have a diagnosis of Parkinson's disease, but after 12 years, they began to have changes similar to Parkinson's disease. Furthermore, the research showed that risk of developing Parkinson's disease increases with the severity of the injury. TBI is known to cause a breakdown of the blood-brain barrier and damage of the neurovascular unit, leading to disruption of homeostasis, exotoxicity, oxidative stress, and inflammation, all of which lead to neurodegeneration over time. Our hypothesis was that compounds with anti-inflammatory and antioxidant activity could be a good strategy for the prevention of the neurodegenerative diseases related to TBI. In particular, we investigated the role of the Iridium melinaceus and natural substances with well-known antioxidant, inflammatory, antidiabetic, hepatoprotective, hypertensive, cardioprotective, or more normal hormetic, anti-age, and anti-depression effects in combination with the Coalesce versicolor, a well-known anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, antibacterial, anti-cancer, and immunomodulating molecule. The purpose of this study was to evaluate how treatment with Iridium melinaceus, Coalesce versicolor, and a both combination was able to act on the molecular, biochemical, and cellular changes that occur in the brain after trauma that increases the risk of Parkinson's disease. TBI was induced in mice by controlled cortical impact. A county was made on the exposed cortex, and the cortical contusion was produced using a controlled apparatus. In particular, we divided the experimental groups in shams, TBI treated with Iridium melinaceus, or Coalesce versicolor, or both substances. Here you can see the histological analysis where no alteration in brain tissues were shown in mice from sham group. In contrast, brain images after traumatic brain injury show tissue disorganization and white matter alteration at 13 days post-injury. Significant protection from TBI was evident in tissue collected from mice treated both singular substances or both. The sham group showed also no evidence of cell degeneration in the midbrain, while neural cell loss was observed in animals of TBI group. Treatment with Iridium, Coalesce, and both restored the architecture of the midbrain. Levels of GFAP and EBA1 in the midbrain region were significantly increased in TBI group compared with sham animals. Treatment with Iridium, Coalesce, and mostly with both significantly reduced the activation of astrocytes and microglia. Additionally, Western blot analysis showed that basal levels of EKB alpha were found in tissue from the sham group, and these levels were significantly reduced in TBI mice samples. The administration of natural substances in single or combination significantly reduced the degradation of the proteins and significantly increased the NF-κB levels fraction in the nuclear fraction of the animals with TBI group compared with sham. Iridium, Coalesce, and both treatments significantly reduce nuclear factor capable light chain enhancer activated B cells translocation. Protein lysis additionally was also incubated with beta-actin antibody and laminin antibody in order to verify that all samples had been loaded with equal amounts. Additionally, Western blot analysis of midbrain showed that NF2 expression was significantly increased in TBI group, while treatment with Iridium, Coalesce, and both further increased the expression of the NF2. H1 expression was also increased in TBI treatment with natural substances and continued to increase levels of this protein. HBS17 expression was increased after rotenone intoxication, and treatment with Iridium, Coalesce after, especially with both, kept levels of this protein. The expression of gamma GSA was increased in TBI group, while treatment further increased this expression. Finally, TRX expression was increased in TBI and further increased by these connatural compounds. Immunohistochemical analysis of the midbrain region additionally showed significant loss of Th positive cells compared to mice, so sham mice. Animals treated with Iridium, Coalesce, and especially with both, revealed an increase of the expression of tyrosine hydroxylase. Immunohistochemical analysis of midbrain region also showed a significant loss of dopamine transporters positive cells as compared to the sham mice. Also in this case, treatment with natural substance significantly increased dopamine transporters expression. Last but not least, Western blot analysis on midbrain region revealed that an increase on alpha-synuclein in TBI group compared to the sham, and that treatment with other substances significantly reduced the increase of this protein. Western blot analysis also demonstrated that BAX expression to be significantly increased in TBI, whereas treatment with Iridium, Coalesce, and especially with both, limited the rise of BAX expression. expression. Finally, BCL2 expression was also reduced after TBI, showing treatment that our natural substances significantly restore BCL2 to basal levels. Then we also evaluated the effect of erythromelalinaceous and Coalesce treatments on depression and anxiety-like behaviors in mouse after traumatic brain injury. In particular, we evaluated the elevated plasmase test, the open field test, and the basal maze test, where all our substances show a significant protective effect. In summary, our histopathological results confirm the connection between TBI and alteration in the midbrain. In particular, 30 days after TBI, an alteration of the normal architecture of the brain and the number of neurons in SN was observed, while a potential beneficial effect was observed in animals treated with Vitium, Coalesce, and especially with both. Known that the alteration of astrocyte and microglia are present in patients with Parkinson's disease and that the cell population remain activated even after 30 days of TBI, we have shown that treatment with Vitium, Coalesce, and especially with both, was able to reduce the activation of GFAP and IBA1 in midbrain. The FKB pathway plays also an important role in the long-term inflammatory process following TBI that can lead to neurodegeneration. Our results demonstrate that the ability of Vitium and Coalesce, administered individually or in combination, to counteract the activation of the pathway and to reduce the degradation of the KB alpha and nuclear translocation of the NFKB. In addition to inflammatory process, it's also important to combat the oxidative stress which is activated following TBI and which can spread to regions far from linked areas such as midbrain, where it can be contributed to the progression of neurodegenerative phenomena. Our results, in fact, show that the ability of Vitium, Coalesce, and individually or in combination to act on the anxiety and defense systems. The inflammatory environment and oxidative imbalance created after TBI could also promote the accumulation of alpha-synuclein and the death of dopaminergic neurons in the midbrain region. As demonstrated by our results, 13 days after TBI, animals show an increase of alpha-syn levels and increase in that TH and DAT markers. Additionally, cell death in the midbrain region was demonstrated by evaluating the specific proteins for apoptosis, such as BAX and BCL2. Treatment with Vitium, Coalesce, and especially with a combination have demonstrated the ability to prevent the accumulation of the alpha-synuclein and neuronal death demonstrated by increase of the TH, DAT, and BCL2 levels, and by reducing the expression of VAX. Finally, we performed the behavioral tests to show that alteration of the midbrain region also reflects the behavioral alteration. Chronic TBI-induced anxious behaviors in animals and reduced partial bleeding, while treatments were able to reduce such behavioral changes. However, no significant variation were observed between different times in which the behavioral tests were performed. In conclusion, our discovery opens up to potential neuroprotective strategies, as it has been shown for the first time that mushroom, erythromelalinaceous, and Coalesce versicolor, and in particular the combination, are able to act on specific molecular mechanisms that bind chronic TBI and Parkinson's disease. Therefore, erythromelalinaceous and Coalesce versicolor can be used as nutritional products for the prevention of the neurodegenerative process related to chronic TBI. So thank you for your attention and to all my colleagues for their support.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Roberto, for your presentation. Is anyone having any questions? Okay, no questions from anyone. Thank you once again for your presence and present.
Thank you.
So our next presenter is Dr. Rosalba Circosa from University of Messina, Italy. Hello, Dr. Rosalba.
Hello.
Yeah,
Yeah,
hi.
I
Yes,
try
so
to
are you
share
ready? Yes, yes,
Yeah.
I'm making. Yes, just a minute.
Okay.
Okay. So now you can share your screen with us. Okay, perfect. You can make it a full screen and start presenting.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, perfect.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. I'm Rosalba Siracusa, and today I will talk about endometriosis and the role of hydrox to modulate oxidative stress and inflammatory process. Endometriosis is the disease that affects 10% of humans in reproductive age. It induces pelvic organ dysfunction, fertility, and chronic pain, adversely affecting quality of life. Although the cause of endometriosis is unclear, the principal theory proposed is the retrograde menstruation. More evidence shows that endometriosis progression is related to a pro-oxidative and immune mechanism. Increased oxidative stress markers have been found in samples from humans affected by the disease. Recently, an interesting relationship between endometriosis and pain-like behaviors has been reported. Changes in stress-responsive brain areas, in particular in the hippocampus, have been related to the pain sensitization. Therefore, the molecules able to reduce the progress of pathology and the induced pain sensitization are potential treatments for the disease. Many studies report the beneficial effect of full natural phytocomponents, in particular the Mediterranean diet, in several oxidative and painful disease. The Mediterranean diet proposes high intake of vegetables, cereals, fruits, legumes, and olive oil rich in flavonoids and polyphenols. One of the main components of the Mediterranean diet is olive oil, interesting for each which contains bioactive compounds such as hydroxytyrosol, which has been widely shown to have antioxidant and anti-inflammatory power. Interesting is the mechanism of action of hydroxytyrosol, because this compound is able to increase the expression of MF2, preserving cellular redox balance and homeostasis. Our recent studies show that hydrox, a new compound, an aqueous structure of olive pulp, containing 40–50% of hydroxytyrosol, prevents the neurodegenerative progression of Parkinson's disease by managing the NRF2 pathway and cellular redox homeostasis. The aim of this study was to evaluate the effect of hydrox in the endometriotic and the associated pro-oxidative and neuropsychiatric symptoms. Endometriosis was in our experimental protocol, animals were divided in two groups, donor and recipient. To stimulate estrogen levels, donor rats were intraperitoneally injected with 10 units of pregnant male serum gonadotropin. Donor animals were euthanized 41 hours later. A middle incision was performed and the uterus was removed and mixed with the sisters. Tissue from all donors were pulled and the recipient animals were injected intraperitoneal with the equivalent of tissue from one uterus along the mid-ventral line. Endometriosis was allowed to develop for 7 days. Hydrox was administered by gavage at the dose of 10 milligrams per kilogram on the 7th day and for the next 7 days. In order to evaluate endometriotic lesion, rats were sacrificed 14 days after endometriosis induction. Brain tissues were vested and laparotomy was performed to collect the endometriotic implants. In the first time, we performed a macroscopic analysis. All animals for the vehicle and hydrox group displayed endometriosis lesions, while sham animals did not show any implants. Even the groups did not show differences in number. The area, diameter, and volume were smaller in hydrox treated animals compared to the vehicle. Then we performed the histological analysis. Endometriotic lesions from vehicle-treated rats showed abundant stromal structure and endometrial sized glands. Hydrox administration reduced the histopathological marks of endometriosis. Endometriosis lesion development is associated with a high degree of tissue fibrosis and increased neurovascularization events. The degree of fibrosis was evaluated by mastocytomic staining and alpha small muscle immunolocalization. The collagen fiber were significantly reduced by hydrox treatment as compared to the vehicle treatment animals. Alpha SMA immunolocalization was weakened in lesions from hydrox administered animals as compared to the vehicle rats. Angiogenesis was evaluated by the abundance of hematopoietic CD34 positive stem cells and VEGF expression. Positive immunostaining for CD34 and VEGF was detected in the endometriotic lesion from vehicle-treated rats, which was decreased by hydrox treatment. Important characteristics of endometriosis are hyperproliferation and inhibited apoptosis. We evaluate using immunohistochemical analysis the expression of the cell proliferation markers, and by Western blot analysis, the anti-apoptotic protein BCL2 and the pro-apoptotic BAX expression in the endometriotic lesion. And we observed that hydrox was able to reduce hyperproliferation and inhibit stimulate the apoptotic. Several papers describe the key role of inflammatory cell recruitment at the lesion site during the endometriosis. For this reason, we investigate the presence in the lesion of the mast cell, and we observed that in the vehicle group, the number of mast cells increased, while in the hydrox group, this number was reduced. We also investigate the marker of oxidative stress, such as GSH, MDA, MPO, and SOD activity, and we observe the alteration of these markers. Treatment with hydrox results in a significant reduction of MPO activity and MDA levels compared to the vehicle-treated rats. Moreover, hydrox administration increased GSH levels and SOD activity. Inflammatory cytokines in peritoneal fluid was evaluated. In peritoneal fluid of hydrox-treated rats, the levels of interleukin-1 beta, 2, 6, 10, and TNF-alpha were decreased as compared to the vehicle animals. Moreover, the analysis conducted on the lesion confirmed the same trend. Reduced levels of interleukin-1 beta, 2, 6, 10, and TNF-alpha were detected in hydrox-treated rats. We observed also the behavioral alteration. In the open field test, vehicle-treated animals showed reduced spontaneous locomotion, number of entries in the central square, and time spent in it. Hydrox treatment ameliorated locomotor activity and exploratory behavior. In the elevated flight mass test, vehicle-treated rats showed a reduced number of entries in closed and open arms. Hydrox administration ameliorates all these parameters. Vehicle-treated rats displayed a significant increase in the number of risks, which were reduced by Hydrox treatment. In the hot plate test, it was observed a significant reduction in the latency of pain reaction in the vehicle treated, which was reduced by the Hydrox treatment. Time junction, in particular occludin and claudin 5, are important factors responsible for blood-brain barrier integrity. To further explore the impact of BBB integrity, we evaluate the level of occludin and claudin 5 by immunohistochemistry, staining, and Western blot analysis, and we observed that Hydrox was able to restore the level of occludin and claudin 5. Further, it has been shown that a significant increase in mast cell number in the hippocampus is a sensory brain injury and related to the stress-mediated neuroinflammation. Thus, we evaluate hippocampal mast cell infiltration by toluidine blue stain, and we observed the increase of mast cell number in the vehicle group and the decrease in the Hydrox group. Additionally, we investigate IBA1 and GSP expression by Western blot analysis, and we observed the activation of these cells in the vehicle group, while Hydrox was able to reduce the expression also of IBA1 and GFAP. Some evidence described the impaired brain oxidative status of rats suggested to endometriosis. Levels of GSH, MDA, MPO, and SOD was determined in hippocampus. Treatment with Hydrox reduced in a significant results in a significant reduction of MPO and MDA levels compared to the vehicle-treated rats. Moreover, Hydrox administration increased GSH levels and SOD activity. Western blot analyses were performed to evaluate BDNF and RS2 expression. This analysis showed a significant decrease in BDNF protein levels compared to the sham animals. Hydrox administration restored its expression. Moreover, hippocampus from Hydrox-treated animals showed the increase in NR2 nuclear set location compared to the tissue harvested from vehicle treatment rats. In contrast, cytosolic expression of NRF2 was decreased by Hydrox administration as compared with vehicle treatment rats. In conclusion, our research showed that Hydrox is very effective antioxidant and a powerful anti-inflammatory agent. Therefore, our hypothesis is that Hydrox carries out its action through the modulation of oxidant-antioxidant balance, the reduction of hyperproliferation and angiogenesis leading to smaller lesion size. Hydrox administration by restoring oxidative balance in the hippocampus, a crucial mood-regulating region of the brain, also involved in the processing of nociception, relieves endometriosis-associated pain. Hydrox could be used as dietary supplement to counter endometriosis and improve the quality of life of patients. Thank you all for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Rosalba, for your presentation. Do anyone have any questions? Okay, no questions. Then thank you once again.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so our next presenter is Dr. Ari S. Solomon from Mihudet Healthcare, Tel Aviv University, Israel. Hello, Dr. Solomon.
Yes, I'm here, but I wait for my presentation to be loaded
Yes.
as I send it.
Yeah, did you send to the Hannah Grace?
Yes, I sent it twice and even before 15 minutes ago.
Okay, just give me a moment, then I will take it from Hannah Grace to share
Yes.
it. Just a minute. But sorry, Dr. Solomon, but she informed me that she didn't receive your presentation.
Maybe I try and can I return back? I try to see what happened with the email, but I send it by
Uh,
email and
yeah,
I
can you
want to,
please try to send it in a Gmail?
yes.
Yeah, yeah. Yes,
Can I
yes. In the
return
chat
back?
box, I will write it down my Gmail ID. Just a minute.
Yes.
Yeah. In the you can see in the chat box, this is my Gmail ID. Sina, Sina, LCRG. Yeah. So just a minute. I think she received your presentation.
Yeah, sure.
So
I
I will
wait.
check. Okay, perfect. Yes, I'm sorry for the delay, but actually I cannot able to download it. Please allow me a moment. I am getting to download it and will show.
You didn't get it? I sent it.
Yeah, I received the email. Hannah received the email. I'm just trying to download it. It's taking
Okay.
time. So please
Okay.
allow me a moment. Thank
Okay.
you. I received the presentation now. So we'll be sharing the screen. Hello, Dr. Solomon. Hello,
I
Dr.
hear you.
Solomon. Yes. So I'm going to share my screen. So you just let me know when I have to change the slide.
Can I just a moment? I want to raise the volume. I don't hear you quite
Yes.
well.
Can you able to see the screen?
Okay. That's it.
Yes. Okay.
Perfect.
So you can just let us know when I have to change the slide so that we will change the slide.
It's okay.
Okay.
So you see that my subject is telemedicine, and the background is that World Health Organization. You can next slide. Yes, you can go on. And the World Health Organization reported that about 422 million people are suffering of diabetes in the world. So the majority is living in low middle income countries. And each year, about 1.6 million deaths are directly attributed to diabetes and not to other diseases. And both the number of cases and the prevalence of diabetes have been steadily increasing over the past few decades. And today, diabetes is considered one of the very majority of on the first row of diseases spread all over the world. So the budget needed to take care of these people is a burden on the economy, and early detection is very important. So we can go on. Next slide. Yes. You can go next slide. Can we go on? So our objective is to use the telemedicine to detect early cases of diabetic retinopathy in a population that cannot reach eye doctors in the periphery of the country. So, it's very important to arrive to regions in which eye doctors don't exist or you can read them. Next slide. Now, the method is to take a camera, a human mobile unit with a specially dedicated camera for taking retina pictures, is used by a professional optometrist. There is no need to delay the pupil of the person for this examination, and this fact saves the need of a companion person and does not annihilate the normal vision for hours of people. For the people, is unpleasant. They cannot read and they can activate for some hours. Next slide. So the pictures taken by the camera are transmitted virtually to an eye specialist doctor to be evaluated. And after evaluating, the diagnosis and the instructions to the person are transferred in the file, in the computer, in the clinic, in the file of the patient, for the person itself, that he can take out and find what are his direction given to him, and the family doctor to understand what is the condition of this specific patient. Next slide. So here you can see the small yellow arrows pointing to small spots, red spots. These are the first sign of diabetic retinopathy. Very few spots is the first moment that we understand that the disease is starting to attack the retina. So these small spots are microaneurysms, which are small balloons in the capillary, arterial capillary of the retina, created by the fact that the disease itself is destroying the endothelial cells wall of the capillaries, and so the wall starts to blow, and at the end of it is a disruption of the tight contact among the endothelial cells, and so the plasma and later the whole blood is leaking out into the retina. So this is a very early non-proliferative diabetic retinopathy case. Next one. Here you can see that are much more arrows showing you spots, larger spots. They start to be hemorrhages of the microaneurysm, and this is considered to be a moderate non-proliferative diabetic retinopathy, MPDR. The next one. Here we have a case of very severe non-proliferative, which is a much later stage. And you can see the arrows directed to spots, yellow spots, which are already, as I said, the plasma is leaking from the vessels, and proteins and albumins from the plasma start to infiltrate in the retina and create what we call hard exudates. This is already the region, if you look down, and the half part of the retina is looking very, it is starting to be ischemic. Some of the blood vessels don't flow anymore, the blood inside, and many parts of the retina start to be without oxygenation, which this is a signal creating intentional new vascularization of blood vessels, but these blood vessels will be abnormal with not normal walls, and this will be the starting point when the capillaries will start to infiltrate into the vitreous, what will start to be a proliferative. Please, the next one. Here we have a very severe case. If you look in the upper part of the picture, the yellow arrow is pointing to an empty, this is an empty artery, the upper central retinal artery branch is completely empty because it is blocked, is obstructed. And on the right side of the picture, you can see hemorrhages, massive hemorrhages, the big spots, and the fovea in the middle of the picture, a small arrow, is pointing to the fovea, which is the central part of the vision, starts to be also affected by the NPDR. So here we have a severe case of diabetic retinopathy with branch artery occlusion and hemorrhages. Next one, please. So the results of our first screening with a camera, we use a telemedicine screening and we screened 138 persons, and the group was composed of 93 males and 45 females, and age range 54 years to 87 years. The findings were, in the total, a minimal grade were 8 persons, as I will show you the first slide, that is the early microaneurysm, which is 5.7% of the group. Moderate NPDR were 6 persons, which is 4.3% of the group. And the severe cases, as one I show you in the last, were 2.1%. If we look together, we have about 12% of the persons screened were found to have NPDR, and they were not now known to be as such affected. So this is a very early discovery of these patients. And the fact itself that these people have already NPDR, it's suggesting that the diabetic treatment, it's not sufficient enough, because we do know that if you want to prevent any sign of NPDR, we have to have the glucose in the blood at the lowest possible level to the normal one, and a stable quantity, which means not racing and jumping up and down the glucose. This creates the damage to the retina. Please, next one. So, in conclusion, telemedicine is an effective method to early detection of diabetic retinopathy and being by that is a perfect tool for applying preventive medicine. So I suggest to everybody who can afford to create such a project in his country and the population that cannot reach the eye doctor, and it is advised that at least once in a year, maximum once in 2 years, people must be examined their retina. This is my conclusion. And the last slide, I want to thank to the Association for Preventing Blindness, who we used the mobile unit they created for preventing blindness, and to the manager who did the hard work to arrive in very far spots, villages and towns to make this project. And thank you for listening to me. Bye.
Thank you, Dr. Solomon, for your presentation. Do anyone have any questions?
Thank you.
Okay, I think there are no questions. So thank you once again for your presence.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you. So
Thank
as
you.
the next presenter, Dr. Adam David has requested that he will present at after the lunch. So I would request Dr. M. Makradikas from Biomedical Research Foundation of the Academy of Athens, Greece, to present her presentation. Hello, Dr. Makradikas. Are you ready with your presentation?
Yes, yes. Hello, hello. Of course, yes, I'm ready.
Yes. So you are the presenter now. Please share your
Okay,
screen with us.
okay, perfect. So I suppose you are able to see my
Yes, we can able
screen.
to see. You can make it a full screen and start presenting.
Yes, just a second. Okay, perfect. So, hello, my name is
Yes.
Manousos Makridakis, and I'm very glad to participate in this interesting meeting. The title of my presentation is Targeted Proteomics Analysis of Archival Core Human Kidney Biopsies to investigate the biology of hypertensive nephropathy. The results that I'm going to present are actually, these are results from a preliminary study that was conducted in the Biomedical Research Foundation of the Academy of Athens in collaboration with the Medical School of Athens. So this is an overview of my presentation. I will first discuss
Yeah, hello, doctor. Is there any problem? Hello, Dr. Makrodikas. We cannot able to hear you. I think he is having some technical problem. So he is offline. So we will wait for a few minutes. Hello, Dr. Makrodikas. Dakis. Sorry. So we cannot able to hear you.
main problem of this disease. Therefore,
Sorry,
discovering...
hello?
Yes?
Yeah, actually your voice was not audible since the first slide. Can you please start over from the first? Now it is audible.
Okay, so you want to start from the first slide?
Yes, yes. Actually, I was calling you, but yeah, you can start it over.
Okay, so can you hear me now?
Yes, yeah, now it is perfect. Yes.
Okay, so I will try to be closer to the microphone.
Yeah.
Okay, so my name is Manousos Makridakis, and I'm very glad to participate in this interesting meeting. The title of my presentation is Targeted Proteomics Analysis of Archival Core Human Kidney Biopsies to investigate the biology of hypertensive nephropathy. This is a preliminary study that was conducted in the Biomedical Research Foundation of the Academy of Athens in collaboration with the Medical School of Athens. This is an outline, an overview of my presentation. So I will first discuss about hypertensive nephrosclerosis, followed by our proteins of interest, which are the chloride intracellular channel protein 4 and the sodium glucose co-transporter 2. I will try to briefly describe the challenging procedure of protein extraction from formalin-fixed paraffin-embedded tissue samples, give you an outline of proteomics methodology. I will proceed with a sample preparation for targeted proteomics analysis and try to explain the basic principle of this methodology. The results obtained along with its validation, followed by a summary and future plans, will be the last part of this presentation. Okay. So hypertension is referred to actually as a silent killer. It is a strong independent risk factor for chronic kidney disease. In fact, it is the second most common cause of end-stage renal disease, leading to hypertensive nephrosclerosis. It is very interesting to note that patients with hypertensive nephrosclerosis comprise more than 1/3 of all patients requiring hemodialysis. Now, despite its major role in leading to end-stage renal disease, many aspects of the development of hypertensive nephrosclerosis remain unknown. In addition, there are actually no markers for detection of early structural and functional changes in renal parenchyma, which would be something really helpful. It is very important also to mention that renal injury caused by hypertensive nephrosclerosis progresses silently with no early symptoms. Actually, the symptoms usually occur when a large part of renal functionality has been already lost. So this is actually a big problem, and therefore the discovering of early biomarkers is strongly required. So from our previous studies, utilizing actually the proteomics methodology in an animal model of hypertensive and normotensive rats, we have identified many differentially expressed proteins, and among others, two of the most interesting ones were the chloride intracellular channel protein 4 and sodium glucose co-transporter 2, which were found as putative biomarkers for the disease. In the current study, actually, we specifically focused on these two proteins with the application of targeted proteomics approach and tried to investigate their expression in archival core human kidney biopsies this time instead of the animal model. Now, the main reasons for selecting chloride intracellular channel protein 4 as one of our candidates are shown in this slide. First of all, chloride intracellular channel protein 4 is a chloride ion transporter. Chloride, as sodium, may play a critical role in the development of hypertension, which is very important. CLIC4 has also not been implicated in the development of hypertensive nephrosclerosis up to now, which makes the investigation and study of this molecule quite interesting in the aspect of the disease. However, I have to notice that increased expression of CLIC4 is a feature of endothelial dysfunction in pulmonary arterial hypertension. So it seems that there is a correlation of this molecule with some kind of hypertension. Along the same lines, sodium glucose light transporter 2 was the other interesting protein that came up from our previous proteomic studies. And actually, it has a very crucial role as it mediates the majority of renal glucose reabsorption from the tubular fluid. In addition, as for the CLIC4, it has not been implicated in the development of hypertensive nephrosclerosis up to now, which makes this molecule quite hot for this topic. And actually, SGLT2 inhibition is a novel treatment option for diabetes. Now, how this actually is working? SGLT2 inhibition lowers the maximum reabsorption capacity of the proximal tubule and reduces the renal threshold for glucose. Therefore, treated subjects with SGLT2 inhibitors will start to renally excrete glucose. The amount of excreted glucose is dependent on the glucose filtration and therefore dependent on the blood glucose values. In the hypoglycemic range, the amount of glucose which is excreted will be very small, and with rising blood glucose, the excreted glucose will also increase. Subjects that have high baseline glucose will have a much higher glucose excretion rate than subjects which are normal. And this is actually a key aspect that makes these inhibitors quite promising drug approach for treating diabetes. Now I will proceed with the protein extraction workflow that we followed for the current study. And I have to say that it was one of the most challenging part of this study. And what made this rather typical procedure as the protein extraction quite challenging was the starting material that in our case was archival core human kidney biopsies that were also formalin fixed paraffin embedded. So as you can guess, the amount of tissue provided from the needle core biopsy was minimal, and the fact that was formalin fixed paraffin embedded made things even more complicated for the subsequent proteomic analysis. For the protein extraction, actually, we adapted the recently published protocol from our lab, which involves the usage of 15 micrometer tissue sections that were deparaffinized and rehydrated by xylene, ethanol, and water washes, respectively. So the tissue samples were actually then homogenized with a harsh lysis buffer containing a high concentration of SDS, 4% SDS, in combination with a bead-based homogenizer. So we used bead homogenization and sonication. A final step, actually, a final incubation step at 90 degrees Celsius was also applied for 1 hour in order to facilitate the better homogenization and extraction of the proteins from the sample. Now, the proteins that were extracted from this protocol were still not enough for the subsequent proteomics analysis. So the samples were really dilute. As you can imagine, the needle core biopsies, the amount of tissue was quite minimal. Hence, the samples have to be further concentrated, and this actually we achieved this by the utilization of specific concentration filters with 3 kilodalton molecular weight cutoff. Now, after all this procedure, in order to homogenize the sample and try to extract as much protein as possible from the FFPE tissue samples, the next step would be the sample preparation for the subsequent targeted proteomics analysis. So this is actually another complicated procedure that involves a lot of steps, but I will try to briefly describe the procedure followed. So the concentrated samples were further processed for the targeted proteomics analysis. The main steps of this procedure actually are summarized in this slide. So samples were run on an SDS page, 10 microgram total protein was loaded per sample. The gels were stained with Kuma's colloidal blue stain. After the electrophoresis, the bands were excised, followed by the stain, reduction and alkylation. And finally, the bands were spit back to dry. After this procedure, the samples were trypsinized with in-gel digestion protocols, and the resulting tryptic peptides were extracted and subjected to LC-MS/MS analysis. So LC-MS/MS, for the people that are not familiar with proteomics, issues, is actually the liquid chromatography coupled to tandem mass spectrometry analysis. Finally, the relative quantification of the proteins of interest was performed with the Skyline software package, which is a freely available software package for targeted proteomics analysis quantification. So the total protocol, the complete protocol is quite complicated. That's why I tried to briefly refer to the most important steps followed in this protocol. However, since proteomics was the main methodology that we applied in our study, I will try to add a few lines trying to explain and provide some more information with regards to this technique. So proteomics is actually a term that was coined by Mark Wilkins in 1994. So it's a relatively new technique, I would say, and by definition, is the total protein complement of a genome. Now, proteomics analysis actually was greatly facilitated by the completion of the Human Genome Project on 2001. And the main steps of a proteomics experiment include the protein and the peptide separation, the identification of the proteins, and then finally the quantification. So in another aspect, I would say that the main advantage of the proteomics methodologies is the fact that we shift from the study of individual molecules to the study of a whole set of molecules. So proteomics, like other omics techniques, is a holistic methodology that can actually provide a lot of data to the scientists. Now, the most robust and frequently used proteomics method nowadays is the LC-MS/MS analysis. As I previously mentioned, this is like liquid chromatography coupled to tandem mass spectrometry. So in this type of analysis, actually the complex mixture of proteins initially are being digested with trypsin. In proteomics, we always have to digest the proteins to peptides, which is easier to analyze in the liquid chromatography afterwards. So the proteins are digested with trypsin, and the resulting tryptic peptides are actually separated with nano high performance liquid chromatography and further subjected to MS and MS/MS analysis. Now, the high performance liquid chromatography is actually coupled with a mass analyzer. So directly after the peptides are being separated in the liquid chromatography are actually inserted to the mass analyzer where the identification process is being performed. Now, if the procedure can be even more complicated, because there is the possibility that the tryptic peptides can be subjected to a second chromatography for a better enrichment, and the collected fractions can actually be analyzed with a mass spectrometry. So in most cases, when we use a two-dimensional liquid chromatography system, the first chromatography is usually a reverse phase chromatography, and the second chromatography in most cases is like ion exchange chromatography or titanium dioxide if we want to enrich for the phosphopeptides in our samples, but many other different chemistry, different chemistry in chromatography exist for someone to use In another aspect, I would say that the mass spectrometer is the core part of the analysis of the proteomics data. So the mass spectrometer is, in this term, is a major component of this methodology, and I will try to briefly explain its principle of operation. So each mass spectrometer consists of 3 different parts, and these are the ion source, the mass analyzer, and the detector. There are many available different types of these components that can be actually combined or create some hybrid mass analyzers, which are nowadays quite popular, that increase the resolution and the sensitivity of the instruments. What is also really important and have to be noted here is that with soft ionization techniques such as ESI and MALDI, which is electrospray ionization and matrix-assisted laser desorption ionization, these soft ionization techniques allowed us to ionize large biomolecules without destroying them, which was a very critical step for the advances that happened afterwards in the proteomics field. So tandem mass spectrometry, or LCMS-MS, which is actually heavily utilized nowadays, is a high-resolution analytical technique using actually 2 mass analyzers that they are combined in one instrument to select an analyte from a mixture and then generate fragments from it to give structural information. With the tandem mass spectrometry instruments and by application of this methodology, actually we highly increase the sensitivity and the resolution of the results obtained. So this is actually very helpful and very important in the field of proteomics. Now I will try to describe what we actually applied in our study, which is the targeted proteomic analysis. And you can also read it as PRM, parallel reaction monitoring. So targeted proteomics analysis is an aspect, is a subgroup of the proteomics analysis. But what makes it different from the total proteomics analysis is that actually in the PRM we are interested in the quantification, in the targeted quantification of specific molecules. So again, the triptych peptide mixture that we have created, as in all proteomics approaches, is first separated by high-performance liquid chromatography, and the peptides are ionized and introduced to a mass spec as precursor ions. In the targeted approach, however, the first mass analyzer, which is shown here, actually selectively transmits only particular precursor ions that originate from the proteins of interest, whereas the other ones are being excluded from the analysis. So this is how the selectivity is being performed in this type of experiments. Now, the selective precursor ions are further fragmented in a collision cell under high vacuum, and the collision actually is being performed with noble gases such as helium or argon, or perhaps nitrogen could be utilized as well. So the fragmented ions are inserted in the second mass analyzer, which performs actually a full scan of the fragmented ions. And finally, what is recorded is the intensity of the mass spectra that are obtained for the proteins of interest. So this is really a very complicated procedure, but I try just to refer to the most critical parts of this procedure. So we apply this aforementioned technique in an initial sample size of n equal to 13 individuals, corresponding actually to 8 individuals that were normotensive and 5 individuals that were hypertensive. So the relative quantification of the proteins of interest was performed with the Skyline software, as I have already mentioned in the introductory slides of my presentation. So what this software actually does, it actually checks the intensity of the spectra of the proteins of interest, and you can measure this intensity, and the expression ratio among hypertensive and normotensive individuals can be calculated. What you see in this slide here, these are some representative spectra images from SGLT2, sodium glucose cotransporter 2, and chloride intracellular channel 4 targeted proteomics analysis. And as you can see, it seems that SGLT2 was upregulated in the normotensive individuals, whereas chloride intracellular channel 4 was upregulated in the hypertensive individuals compared to the persons that had normal blood pressure. So this was a relative quantification with the targeted proteomics approach. And then we further validated, we are in the we are actually now in the step of further validating the proteomics results. As a first step, we tried to use immunofluorescence to validate the expression of sodium glucose cotransporter 2 in normotensive and hypertensive specimens. So for this immunofluorescence validation, we utilized different tissue samples, different core kidney tissue samples, biopsies, than the ones that were actually utilized in the targeted proteomics approach. And as you can see in the image, it seems that, again, the initial results from the targeted proteomics analysis were confirmed with immunofluorescence. So it seems that immunofluorescence results for SGLT2 followed the same trend of expression as the ones from the targeted proteomics analysis. Thus, again, the normotensive seem to have higher expression levels of SGLT2. At the moment, we are in the process of validating with the same methodology, with the same technique, the other protein of interest, the chloride intracellular channel protein 4. And from the initial results, it seems that also in this case, we have an agreement between immunofluorescence and targeted proteomics analysis. So in a nutshell, I would say that our study shows for the first time that there are changes in the tubular compartment of the kidney, and especially in the proximal tubules, that can be associated with a hypertensive nephropathy. However, we do understand that the clinical significance of these findings should be further explored for the discovery and confirmation of novel therapeutic approaches and biomarkers in the development of hypertensive kidney disease. We do understand that the sample size so far is not so high, so it's rather small. But you have to consider that this archival core human kidney biopsies is a rare starting material to work, of course. But actually, this is an ongoing study, so we are planning to validate the results obtained in a bigger cohort. Of course, as I already mentioned, the immunofluorescence validation of chloride intracellular channel 4 protein is an ongoing process. And what we can also do is try to use stable isotope labeled standards, peptides, for absolute quantification via the targeted proteomics methodology. What I showed you before was a relative quantification. So we had the ratio of the expression of the proteins in the two different groups. But with the use of stable isotope labeled standards, we can perform actually an absolute quantification and even quantify in the range of nanogram per ml or picogram per ml the proteins of interest. So our funding was actually from the this research was co-financed by Greece and the European Union. As I told you, this is again an ongoing study. These were the initial results that I tried to briefly present in this interesting webinar. So I would like to thank you for your attention, and if you have any questions, I will be glad to answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Makridakis, for your presentation. Do anyone have any questions? Okay, no questions from anyone. Thank you once again.
You are
Okay,
welcome.
so
Thank you very
yeah.
much.
So as we have time, so can I request Dr. Franzana Aikitarani from G. Papanikolu General Hospital, Thessaloniki, Greece to present his presentation? Hello, Dr. Franzana. So I think she's not active, so I will just contact her. Please give me a moment. So Dr. Franzana has said that he will join again. He's having some microphone problem, so we will wait for him. Yeah, hello, Dr. Franzana. Can you please unmute? Like, I think here it is showing that you are on a mute. You can click on the mic on your screen.
This conference will now be recorded.
So hello everyone. Now I think we should start our program. So our next presenter is Dr. Susana Catina da Silva Lanes from University of Sao Paulo, Brazil. Hello, Dr. Susana.
Hello, I'm here.
Yeah. Yes, we can able to hear you. So I'm going to make you the presenter.
Yes, I need.
Yes, please share your screen
Okay.
with us.
Okay. Let me see.
We can able to see your screen. You can open the presentation.
Okay. Just a minute. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, perfect. You can
Yes,
continue.
perfect. Okay. Can I minimize this?
Yeah, you can minimize. It is not visible to us. The options are only visible to you. We can only see your presentation.
Okay. 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 So, thank you for the invitation, and it's a pleasure to contribute with this international webinar. And after lunch, I will speak about chocolate. Maybe it could be a good thing. Okay. I will speak about diabetes. It can consume quality chocolate products. My research area is food science and technology, and we work with special formulation development. Okay, so as a background, diabetes is a chronic metabolic disease that is characterized by high blood sugar levels, and over the years it can damage the heart, blood vessels, eyes, kidneys, and nerves. According to World Health Organization 2021, about 422 million people worldwide have diabetes, and both the number of cases and the prevalence of diabetes have steadily increased in recent decades. Obesity also is considered a key disease to trigger other diseases such as cardiovascular and cerebrovascular diseases. No insulin-dependent diabetes, systemic arterial hypertension, some types of the cancer, in addition to physical-social disorders. Among the reasons for the increase in obesity is the excessive consumption of sugar, especially that added to sugary drinks and processed products. Well, the food industry must have a commitment to promoting health and the well-being of its consumers. How? Decreasing saturated fat and sugar content, provide correct information on packaging, encourage the development and market of healthier products. About the obesity, accumulation of fat tissue resulting from the difference between energy consumption and expenditure caused by genetic, endocrine, metabolic diseases or nutritional alterations. Consider a worldwide epidemic regardless of socioeconomic conditions. And in Brazil, for example, urbanization and industrialization are accompanied by great availability of highly palatable foods with greater energy density and sedentary lifestyle contribute to the increase in this disease. And obesity is related with diabetes. Well, diabetes mellitus. A disease characterized by absence type 1 or insufficient production type 2 of hormone insulin, resulting in an increase in blood glucose, affecting the metabolism of carbohydrates, proteins, and lipids. It is inquiring epidemic characteristics and should constitute one of the most frequent and critical health problems of the 21st century, especially in the poorest countries. In Brazil, again, the prevalence is 15, around 15 in the urban population. To meet the needs of consumer with dietary restriction or those seeking a health diet of the food industry has invested heavily in the development of modified products with benefits for the consumers, as a light diet and functional products. Prebiotic foods, they present in their constitution compounds that are not digestible by intestinal enzymes, stimulating the growth and or activity of a limited number of bacteria in the colon, altering the microbiota of the intestine and restoring its balance. Resistant oligosaccharides as inulin and polydextrose can be used. Intake of 20 grams per day is well tolerated by healthy individuals. Above 30 grams per day causes diarrhea and flatulence. Well, chocolate products. Chocolate is a product obtained from cocoa. Cocoa is a functional food, and chocolate products can be obtained after chocolate processing by several conditions. Obtained from a mixture of cocoa derivatives, cocoa mass, cocoa pound, and or cocoa butter with other ingredients, containing at least 25% of total cocoa solids for Brazilian legislation. It is the definition of a chocolate in Brazil. But if you are in European community or in US or Latin America countries, another legislations are following, as Coalesce and Community European legislation. Pleasure and benefits of chocolates is our unique sensory characteristics, does not increase the plasma cholesterol level because the oleic and the stearic fatty acid is present, has stimulating benefits because of the theobromine presence, is an alkaloid, and antioxidant properties as a flavonoid presence. Cocoa product, as example, filled chocolate is the subject of this presentation. Consisting of chocolate mass or a nucleus formed by different fillings, covered or molded, solid or stuffed, chocolate toppings, half bitter, milk, and white. And the values for the consumers are appearance, texture, flavor, nutritional value. To organize the formulation of a new chocolate, a nutritional new chocolate, you need to have some concepts and use some ingredients and sugar substitutes. In addition to the sweetening power, there are currently substitutes that are used as body agents, flavor enhancers, and have prebiotic properties also. Polyol is an example of a sugar substitute. They cause little or no insulin action by absorbed slowly or incompletely by the intestine. Excessive use has a laxative effect. Sorbitol is representative of this category, has 2.4 kilocalories per gram, humectant action, crystallization inhibitor, and body agent. Isomalt, another representative, has 2 kilocalories per gram, is a body agent, and with sucrose in a 1:1 ratio is a good combination. Sucralose, from explained commercial name as harmless to health, has high thermal stability, has 600 times greater sweetness than sucrose, less aftertaste and needs for body agent. As body agents representative, we have the polydextrose, like test in commercial name. They must maintain as similar as possible the texture characteristics that sugar provides to traditional products. Polydextrose has a high thermal stability, stable over a wide pH range and under process and storage conditions. It has no aftertaste, it has a low glycemic index, and is recognized as soluble dietary fiber. And the example as a fat substitute, we have compounds with reorganized safety for health and that have functional and organoleptic properties similar to those of fats, which the benefit of a significant caloric reduction. The classification by mechanism of action, imitators of fat derivatives, and the chemical nature related to carbohydrates, proteins, or fats. A combination of water with lipids or no lipids, modified carbohydrates or protein, capable of forming special gels is a very great quality because fat has a function of retain air and extrude the product, and a gel can simulate in this action of the fat. Well, inulin, commercial name Haftalin, is 100% vegetable, extracted from chicory by the hot water, produces a stable fat like cream, has high thermal stability, has high solubility, and its acid stability is hydrolysis occur under pH condition less than 4, pH 4, which long exposure time to high temperatures. Another example is salatin, Benefat, as it is a non-calorical, low-calorie compound with properties similar to those of lipids, whose ester bonds are modified. Salatin is approved by FDA. It is a structured fat that provides only 5 kilocalories per gram, and the normal fat has 9 kilocalories per gram. Recommended intake is up to 30 grams per day, and it does not increase plasma cholesterol levels, and it is a zero trans product, zero trans fat acid product. Well, so the aims were the aims is offering very consumer food product designed to provide sugar and fat substitution, develop diet and or light fillings for reduced calorie chocolates, add ingredients with functional properties, cater to consumers of special purpose diets, evaluate shelf life through texture profile, and evaluated products acceptance by consumers by sensory analysis. The methods for diet and light chocolate fillings were developed with the addition of an ingredient with functional properties. Analysis of water activity, pH, moisture, total lipids, protein, dietary fiber, carbohydrates, sensory texture at different temperatures and storage times were performed. And diet chocolate was used as a coverture of the filling. Well, sorry, it is in some terms in Portuguese, but I will translate, okay? So it's a formulation of the control filling. Control filling is normal with sugar, Okay, and condensed milk, glucose syrup, cocoa powder, vegetable fat, couverture chocolate was used, lecithin of soy emulsifier. Inulin is a fiber, distilled water, this sorbitol, vanillin, and invertase. Several formulations were developed for special filling, but I chose only one to present here, the formulation number 5 here. The fatted milk powder was used, sucralose, isomalt, the fiber and sweetener, cocoa powder, inulin, water, polydextrose, Benefat as a fat substitute, diet milk chocolate was used, lecithin, sorbitol, vanillin, and chocolate flavor, and invertase were used to compose, to make this to develop this formulation. The chocolate filled processing was just like this. We have here the temperatures for work with the chocolate. It's special temperatures to contribute to crystallization of the chocolate and don't burn the ingredients of the formulation of the chocolate. And we followed 35 degrees, 40, 45 degrees, 37. We melted the chocolate, we tempered the chocolate to crystallize, and then we put in a shells and to put in the mold to create the filled chocolate. Okay, the filling were put here into the shell of a chocolate shell. Then you fill it with a chocolate filling, and then you close with another part of chocolate, normal chocolate, chocolate used as a shell. Okay. This is the images of the filling. Okay. To monitoring the restorative through a form every 90 days and evaluated by texture analysis. By sensory analysis, acceptance test with independent samples using a 10 centimeter hybrid hedonic scale, evaluating the attributes of texture, flavor, and purchase intent. Individuals aged between 19 and 55 years were selected. We used, oh, sorry. We used 170 individuals, panelists. 85 evaluated the control filled chocolate, and another 85 the special formulation choice number 9. Well, there some results of the chocolate filled analysis. Caloric value in 100 grams of food calculated from the
physicochemical analysis of commercial control and F9 filled chocolate. We chose a special formulation. We took a commercial chocolate, just like the developed chocolate, to compare the results. But the commercial chocolates were not was not a special formulation. It's normal with the sugar and all. But the texture characteristics of this commercial formulation was quite ideal to compare with our formulation. So we have here the commercial formulations, control with sugar, and F9 special formulation without sugar and without fat. We have here protein 34%, more protein than the other two formulations. We have less lipids, but the lipid content provided from the chocolate used in formulation, commercial chocolate diet used in formulation. The diet chocolate has fat, okay? Carbohydrates plus fibers, we have 148, less than the other formulation, and the calories 404, and less than the other two formulations. So we had a caloric reduction, commercial and F9 versus F9 formulations, 25.7% less calories in F9. And in comparing control and F9 formulation, we have around 21% of caloric reduction. In the caloric value and unit cost of the control F9 formulation, the cost of the formulation, we have a caloric reduction of filling, cost reduction, sorry, here is cost reduction 50% in filling number 9. We have a reduction of price in this formulation. So here we have the commercial product, filled chocolate product, and the control filled product. And we have monitored during storage through a form every 90 days. Here, products. And then commercial control special formulation, we have in 10 and 25 degrees for comparison the structure of these two products. Here we have the texture profile of filled chocolate with 2 and 90 days of storage. And then we have here a hardness of this product, a hardness after 90 days. The hardness is lower than in the beginning of this control for this special formulation. But the control formulation is higher firmness. In elasticity, we have less elasticity for the special formulation after 90 days, and for control formulation also. Cohesiveness, we have more cohesiveness, and for the shareable, we have less shareable after 90 days. This is aspect of the formulations after 2 days, 30 days, 60 days, and 90 days. We have a compression occurred without problem, and the firmness is less than the other formulations. the control and the commercial formulation. The frequency distribution of notes obtained by diet light filled chocolates and control in relation to flavor and texture. And then we have in blue diet light formulation, in red one, and we have control formulation. Flavor is, has quite no 10, square 10. And then by texture, we had for diet light 10 score, and for control, we had the score 10 here, 10. So we had a good scores, very good scores to flavor and texture parameters for the diet light filled and control in relation to the sensory attributes. So intention to purchase the control and diet light filled chocolate by the panelists, we have probably yes to buy the diet light, and traditional also, more traditional and diet light, quite the same. And sure, yes, I could buy this product. Is more to diet light than the traditional products. Traditional are in red color. So the result, as a result, the replacement of sugar with sweeteners and body agents was satisfactory, as was the use of the fat substitute. The insulin used in the formulation, the inulin used in the formulation presented the texture not perceived by the sensory. In the sensory analysis, one of the products developed obtained high levels of purchase intention, which can consider in this analysis as a product with great market potential. And as conclusion, the minimum reduction of 25% of the total caloric value of the one of the developed filling compared to the control filling was successful. The replacement of sugar by sweeteners and body agents was satisfactory, obtaining a filling with an adequate texture to fill the molds. The absence of sucrose in the special formulations allowed consumption by the diabetic populations. Structured fat substitute contributes positively to the filling texture, having a behavior like that of vegetable fat and contributing to the product's calorie reduction, especially in the filling. And finally, the addition of inulin and polydextrose soluble fibers in the formulation resulted in an average amount of 0.53 grams of fiber per developed chocolate. So it is all. Thank you for your attention.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Susanna, for your presentation.
Okay,
Is anyone having any questions? Okay, so no questions. Thank you once again for your presence and presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so our next presenter is Dr. Franzana Aikatarini. Hello, Dr. Franzana, are you ready now? Hello. Hello, Dr. Franzana. We cannot able to hear you. Yes, we can able to see your screen, but your voice is not audible to us. Can you please check with your speakerphone or the volume? Because we cannot able to hear you. No, Dr. Franzana, we cannot able to hear you. Yeah, hello, Dr. Franzana. I'm sorry, but we cannot able to hear you. I think you need to check with your speakerphone or you can try as you have tried yesterday. So can I proceed with another presentation? Till that you can try once. And once you are okay, you can just let me know here. If we can able to hear your voice, then next presentation will be yours. Yeah, thank you for giving the permission. So as Dr. Franzana is having some problems, so we will proceed further for next presentation. It's from Dr. Huang V. Ling from Medical Acupuncture and Pain Management Clinic, Brazil. Hello, Dr. Huang V. Ling. Are you ready now?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, yes. So I'm going to make you the presenter. Yes.
Can you allow me to share the screen? Okay.
Perfect. We can able to see your screen.
Can you see?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to everyone. My name
Yeah,
is
can you
Juan
make it a full
Weling.
screen?
I don't think so because let me see.
Okay.
Here? Here?
Yes, perfect.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. My name is Juan Weling. I'm a medical doctor from Brazil. I'm very happy to be here in the second day of the Diabetes Conference to share this second study entitled Chakras Energy Deficiencies as the Cause of Diabetes Type 1. I would like to congratulate all the presenters, my colleague from Brazil, and the organizing committee to invite me to be here to share this study. Globally, type 1 diabetes is increasing in both incidence and prevalence, and overall annual increases in incidence about 2 or 3% per year. And US data suggest an overall and 22 cases per 100,000 people among those under 65 years of age. And the greatest increase seen in the incidence of type 1 diabetes are among children under the age of 5 years. And type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune reaction where the body's defense system attacks insulin producing beta cells in the pancreas, causing the body to be unable to produce the insulin it needs. The type of diabetes can affect people of any age, but it's more prevalent in children and young adults. And the only way a person with type 1 diabetes can survive is by taking insulin every day, according to Western medicine, in order to control blood glucose levels. But until today, it has not been fully understood how it arises and what causes the type of diabetes. So today, I will bring one of possible cause of diabetes type 1, following what Hippocrates said, that it's important to consider other ancient medical traditions prior to the knowledge we have nowadays. So in this presentation, I will share the viewpoints of diabetes formation in the type 1 diabetes according to traditional Chinese medicine. For this, I will show you the three metaphors showing the different viewpoints between Western and traditional Chinese medicine in diabetes formation. This tree is symbolizing the human body. This tree has a trunk with several branches. Each branch represents one medical specialty, and the diabetes is in the branch of endocrinology, and diabetes type 1 or 2 is in the leaf level, and what Western medicine is treating nowadays is on the leaf level, treating the hyperglycemia, lowering with medication or insulin or the diet recommendation. But what traditional Chinese medicine understands in all kinds of symptoms and disease formation in all kinds of specialties such as psychiatrists and orthopedic or neurological or many other specialties, is that all the clinical manifestation is in the leaf level, is caused not in the leaf, but the cause is on the root of this tree that are invisible by the naked eye, and are commanded by two theories in traditional Chinese medicine, that is yin and yang and the 5-element theory. And also this tree suffers the influence of the external pathogenic factors that are cold, wind, heat, humidity, and dryness that Western medicine usually do not understand the way of what they can induce the formation of some disease nowadays. And that's why we need to understand all these factors to understand how we can prevent the formation of disease. And this is the yin and yang symbol, and all the treatment that I'm using nowadays to treat all my patients in all kinds of disease is to balance the yin and yang energy. And as you can see, there are energy imbalances that when the yin is smaller than the yang energy, or the yang is smaller than yin energy, there is a formation of so many kinds of disease. And in this case, diabetes is formed when there is yin deficiency in relation to yang deficiency according to TCM reasoning. And there is a formation of internal heat. It's a kind of fire inside the body that is inducing the hyperglycemia symptoms. And here's another theory that I presented in 2015 in the Harvard Medical School in an acupuncture research conference, that I'm saying that if we treat all these energy imbalances between yin yang, qi, and blood, we can treat all the patient's conditions at the same time, such as emotional or physical symptoms. And when there is a deficiency in energy between one or a combination of deficiencies between yin and qi or blood, there is a formation of internal heat inside the body that is important to generate the diverse disease, such as, in this case, diabetes came from indeficiency and heat retention. Women in menopause, for example, came from indeficiency and heat retention. Patients with cancer also have these energy deficiencies and formation of heat retention. And for example, patients with anxiety also have this energy deficiency and heat retention. Patients with panic syndrome also have energy deficiencies and heat retention as the base. And so, for you to understand, many energy alterations in the root could cause a variety of different symptoms in the leaf level of that tree. And this is the second theory, is the 5 elements theory, that is ruled out the TCM reasoning. In this theory, they are saying that all the things that exist in our universe is composed by the 5 elements, such as water, wood, fire, earth, and metal. And each element is represented by one internal mass organs in traditional Chinese medicine, such as kidney, liver, heart, spleen, and lung. And each element is responsible for one external sensorial organ, such as kidney is responsible for the ear and the hearing process. The liver is responsible for eye and vision. The heart is responsible for tongue and communication. The spleen is responsible for the sense of taste, and lung sense of smell. And as you can see, each organ is interconnected by the energy flow, as you can see, and one element can control the functioning of the other. This theory is different from Western perspective, because in Western medicine they understand that each organ works separately and independently and do not exert influence on the other organ. But in TCM, they are very interconnected, and if one organ became ill, he will exert influence in the functioning of the other organ, because one organ depends on the other. And here are the chakras, energy centers, and the organ that they are representing in the human body. This chakra is studied by Ayurvedic medicine, but there are some studies correlating the chakras, energy centers with the 5 element theory in traditional Chinese medicine. And that is why when I measure the chakras, energy centers, I'm measuring the energy of the internal massive organs in TCM. This is the first chakra. This is chakra in the bottom in red, and this is the 7th chakra. The first chakra correlated to the wood element and liver, the second to the water element and kidney, the third the chakra to the fire element or heart. The 4th chakra corresponds to the metal and lung, and the 5th chakra to the earth element or spleen. And the 7th chakra is corresponding to the spiritual chakra, and the 6th chakra corresponding to the memory and concentration. Each organ is responsible for the production of that energy. Liver is responsible for the production of qi, kidney is responsible for the production of yin and yang, and the lung is responsible for the distribution of qi, and the spleen for the production of blood. And the heart is responsible for the flowing of blood inside the blood vessels. And I will show you what is happening in all diabetes patients, type 1 and 2, that we needed to know to treat them accordingly. And to understand why I'm treating the root of the tree and not the leaf level, it was because of one specific patient that I treated myself in 2006. And I will show you briefly his history. He's a 70-year-old male patient that was treating pain in the leg for the last 6 months for with no improvement with the use of anti-inflammatory medication. And after this, he searched for my clinic to search for another type of treatment. And his TCM diagnosis was kidney iron deficiency. And to treat this deficiency, I use the Chinese dietary counseling, systemic and auricular acupuncture associated with apex circulating. After 10 acupuncture sessions, he returned to me and said that his leg pain improved very much, but he also improved from his glaucoma condition that he was treating for the last 40 years with no improvement with the use of eye drops. And his intraocular pressure were also above 40 mmHg, and for the first time of his life, his intraocular pressure reduced from 40 to 17 mmHg. And these are some articles that are published about diabetes. Why are patients still having hyperglycemia despite diet regulation, anti-glycemic medication, and insulin? And what do we have to know in the treatment of diabetes in patients nowadays? And the patients with gestational diabetes and relationship between diabetes patient and COVID-19. Here are some examples. I'm showing that all diabetes patients, what they have in common. Type 1 and 2 diabetes is that they do not have energy in the internal massive organs, in the chakras energy centers, and all the measurement of all these patients were in the lowest level of energy, leading to energy imbalances and formation of this internal heat. And what we need to understand is that we are treating the manifestation of the symptoms is only manifestation of these energy imbalances in the roots, and diabetes is caused by when the yin is deficient. And also autoimmune disease is caused by autoimmune disease in traditional Chinese medicine is also caused by indeficiency. And that's why patients with diabetes type 1 they are having energy deficiencies that we need to treat. And treating this condition, we can treat regulate all the disease and all the markers that the patient is suffering from autoantibody could disappear with this kind of treatment. And the TCM viewpoints about diabetes is when the yin is smaller than yang, and leading to clinical manifestation of diabetes, such as the triple burner is excessive thirst, excessive overeating, and excessive urination. And when the heat is in the first burner, the patient will have excessive consumption of food. And if the heat is in the lower burner, the patient will have excessive urination. And to show you, there is this case report that I will show you. She is a woman of about 30 years old, and she discovered diabetes when she was 19 in the first pregnancy. And after she treated her diabetes with insulin, I think. And after delivery of the pregnancy, she the diabetes controlled. And after the second pregnancy, she had another diabetes, gestational diabetes. And after the baby was born, the diabetes was controlled again. And after the third pregnancy, she was diagnosed again with gestational pregnancy. And she needed to intake the insulin 30 NPH in the morning and 15 NPH in the evening. And after this third pregnancy, she became the glycemia became very altered above 600 milligrams per dl, and she went to my clinic for a search for another kind of treatment. And what we did was measuring her chakras and energy centers, and what we found that all her internal organs were in the lowest level of energy, leading to energy imbalances and formation of internal heat. And that's why in this case we orientate her to avoid some kinds of foods, such as the ingestion, avoid the ingestion of cold water, raw food, dairy products, coffee, soda, matiti, and all kinds of fried foods, egg, honey, coconut, alcoholic beverages. But all these orientations are all in the energy point of view and not according to the components of the foods, because each food has their energy imbalance, energy property, and depends on the type of energy that each food has. For example, in this chart, I'm showing the foods that could induce the increase in the internal heat, and in this case, chocolate is increasing the heat retention that can increase the glucose level, and also coconut, honey, eggs, and fried foods and pepper. All these foods can increase the heat retention, increasing the hyperglycemia. And in this case, we are taking out the heat using the apex dilating to reduce the heat, and also to do the auricular acupuncture points to balancing the yin and yang, qi and blood energy to regulate this internal energy. And to replenish this energy in the chakras energy centers, I usually use the high diluted medications, such as homeopathy medications. As you can see in this table, that to tone the liver, I use phosphorus. To treat kidney, natrium muriático. To treat heart, I use sulfur. To treat the lung, silica, and spleen, calcária carbônica. Why I'm using homeopathy instead of high concentrated medication? I will show you in the next slide. And the result of this treatment is that her blood glucose was above 600 milligrams per dl before the treatment asymptomatically. And after this treatment, she became, the maximum was 200, but nowadays it's about 120. And she is still undergoing treatment, but after the COVID-19 pandemic, she disappeared from here, and I don't know how is she nowadays. And here's to show you that diabetes type 1 patient has this energy pattern of indeficiency, leading to diabetes formation and formation of autoimmune disease also. And here are some articles that I'm showing all the autoimmune disease considered by Western medicine. All of what they have in common are energy imbalances of indeficiencies. As you can see, autoimmune hepatitis, patients with rheumatoid arthritis, patients with autoimmune hepatitis here. And here are some articles that I'm showing what all autoimmune disease have in common are energy deficiency, indeficiency, leading to formation of autoantibodies. And the treatment, rebalancing using alterations in the diet, as I show you, and using acupuncture with apex circulates and replenishing these chakras energy centers can negativate all the auto antibodies markers in the blood. As I'm showing in this article, can autoimmune hepatitis be treated without the use of corticosteroids or immunosuppressive drugs? Here is the article that I published showing the homeopathy medications that we need to use in this case of energy deficiencies, and why patients that are still having hyperglycemia using the common medications and insulin or diet is because the energy imbalances in the root of that tree is not treated yet, and that's why we need to rebalance this internal energy using all these tools that I show you in this presentation, and replenishing these chakras energy centers that is maintaining the formation of internal heat when you do not replenish these energy deficiencies using highly diluted medication. Why I'm using high diluted medication is according to Arndt-Schultz law created in 1888 by two German researchers, and in this research they are showing that the use of high concentrated medication can reduce even more the vital energy, and that's why the use of high diluted medication can increase the vital energy and improving the energy, and in this case reducing the formation of internal heat that is causing the hyperglycemia symptoms. And the maintenance of the use of any type of high concentrated medication can induce the maintenance of hyperglycemia in patients with diabetes type 1 and 2, and that is why we need to change all the type of medication in this case to reduce the glycemia of this patient. To understand, in Brazil, homeopathy and acupuncture are considered medical specialties by the Federal Medical Council. I know that there are some countries in the world that do not consider yet the homeopathy and acupuncture as medical specialties, but they are very important tools nowadays to treat this new type of patient that we have, that I think the majority of the population in the world do not have energy in the internal mass organs, leading to a diverse clinical manifestation, in this case diabetes, but can be the cause of the anxiety, depression, panic syndrome, patients with myocardial infarction, patients with COVID-19, patients with cancer. All they have in common is energy deficiencies in the chakras energy centers. And to you to understand in the deepest level what is happening in patients with diabetes type 1, we need to integrate the TCM with Western medicine to understand what is happening in the root level and in the leaf level. And the conclusion of this study is that patients with type 1 diabetes has chakras energy centers deficient in energy. And the treatment of this condition, replenishing the energy of these chakras energy centers with the use of high diluted medications, are important to treat the patient in the root level and not just treating the manifestation of the disease in the leaf level, leading to hyperglycemia. According to Hippocrates, healing is a matter of choice, but sometimes is a matter of opportunity for the patients. Thank you for your attention. This is my email address. If you have any question, I'll be very happy to answer you and reply to you. Okay, I finished my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Huang Wei Ling, for your presentation. Is anyone having any questions? Okay, no questions. So thank you once again for your presence and presentation.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So our next presenter is Dr. Adam Dibir from the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, Israel. Hello, Dr. Adam. Yeah, are you ready with your presentation?
Yes.
Yeah, so just a minute. So you are the presenter now. Please share your screen with us.
Yes. Can you see it?
Yeah, perfect. We can able to see your screen. You can make it a full screen and start presenting.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, perfect. Yes.
Okay. So my talk today is about the World Health Organization classification of processed meats as carcinogenic and its implication on the consumption in Israel. This work was done in collaborative with Professor Finkelstein, Professor Edo Kahn, and Professor Betty Schwartz, and is supported by the Nutrition Research Foundation, the Center of Agriculture Economic, and the National Insurance Institute of Israel. So I just say it's an economic work, but it deals with nutrition, so I think it might be interesting for nutritionists also. So a short introduction. On October 26, 2015, the World Health Organization issued a dramatic announcement according to which processed meat products were classified as carcinogenic to humans under Group 1, and the consumption of red meat was classified as probably carcinogenic to humans under Group 2A. Just to put you in context, Group 1 of the carcinogens also include tobacco smoking, asbestos, arsenic, air pollution, and other bad stigmatized substances. So this declaration is very dramatic. So in terms of our motivation, supplying food that adversely affects health without the awareness of the consumers creates a negative externality, which is actually a cost that is not fully accounted by the market equilibrium. So our aim is to measure how nutritional information coming from a credible source affects the market and evaluate the effectiveness of disseminating information via the mass media in order to change consumers' behavior. So we build our study on a database of purchases, panel data of more than 2 million observations conducted by 2,290 panelists, which are households that statistically represent the population in Israel for the years 2014 up to 2017. In addition, we have data that includes film advertising expenditures and media index, which are actually all the media publication that links meat consumption and health risk or health damages. So I think this chart telling the whole story in a nutshell. You can see on the blue thick line the quantities per household per month in grams of processed meat purchased in Israel. And in the dotted red line, we can see the media index, meaning the articles that were published in the media that links between meat consumption and health damage. And we can see on month 0, which is October 2015, the sharp rise in the media index, which accompanied by a sharp decline in the consumption of processed meat. And another thing that is interesting to see is although media index is gradually descending to the original levels prior to the announcement, we can see that the consumption of processed meat stays in a lower level than it was prior to the announcement. Okay. So we use regression discontinuity as a natural experiment method in order to capture the causal effect of the announcement on processed meat quantities. And we will focus on specification 1. We can see that overall processed meat quantities dropped by 164 grams per month per household, which is equal to 18% decrease in the quantities overall. Also, we can see that all the categories of processed meat, salmon, sausages, hot dogs, barbecue products, and ready-to-eat schnitzels, all were negatively affected by the announcement. And we can see that hot dogs is the category that was the most affected, minus 25%, while pastrami sausages is the category that was affected the least, only minus 12%. In addition, the World Health Organization also referred to red meat as probably carcinogenic to humans, and we can see that also red meat was adversely affected by the announcement, but only by 6%, and it's much lower than the processed meat that dropped by 18%, and this is in line with the message. We also wanted to see if the effect is persistent, meaning it stays for a long time after the announcement, or it's rapidly coming back to the original patterns of purchases. And we can see that comparing to October 2015, all the months prior to the announcement actually are the same in terms of treatment effect, but following October 2015, meaning following the warning of the World Health Organization, we can see that all months, maybe beside 1 month, were negatively and significantly affected by the announcement. In addition, we try to look for heterogeneity patterns in the response of consumers to the announcement, and we find that low-income household and former Russian immigrants did not significantly responded to the announcement. Maybe unexpectedly, we find that education did not affect the magnitude of response, and high education household responded exactly the same as non-academic education households. We did some placebo tests in order to make sure that the effect that we capture is the effect of the World Health Organization announcement and not any other effect that could happen in parallel. For example, the first placebo that we made is just changing the month of the announcement in order to see if we see some negative discontinuities in other months, which are not October and November 2015, which are the months of the announcement. And as you can see in the chart here, the only months that we see significant drop in the quantities of processed meat are October and November 2015, meaning this is probably because of the announcement. In addition, we did a placebo test in order to see if maybe any other thing could create this negative discontinuity, negative drop in quantities, maybe a war, or maybe, I don't know, some kind of world depression or any other reason other than the World Health Organization announcement. And you can see here above, on top, you can see the processed and red meat categories that were the target of the announcement. And below, we can see all the other categories which are not necessarily meat. And you can see that the processed and red meat categories are to the left of the zero line, meaning they have drop in quantities in the months of the announcement, but all other categories, most of them were not affected, not negatively nor positively affected at the time of the announcement, meaning that we are catching the announcement effect and not any other effect. Finally, we did some robustness check in order to see that the treatment effect that we catch is robust to different specification and to different bandwidths around the cutoff. And as you can see, no matter specification, no matter the bandwidth, the results are very robust, all around minus 160 grams per household per month. So finally, we ask ourselves whether the new equilibrium following the announcement is economically optimal, meaning it balances the benefits and the risk of processed meat consumption. Actually, what we are doing, we are looking at the actual cost in dollar per kilogram for consuming processed meat, which can be the increased chances to get colorectal cancer, the illness cost, the potential year of life loss, etc., etc. And we look at the perceived cost, which is coming from the drop in demand due to the announcement. The perceived cost is how the consumers perceive the cost. And we're asking ourselves, is the perceived cost is actually equal to the actual cost? If so, we can conclude that the drop in demand was at an optimal level, and the new quantity of equilibrium is optimal. Okay, so we're just comparing the perceived cost here. You can see it in blue, which is the cost that consumers took into account for 1 kilogram of processed meat consumption. You can see it's moving between $1.3 to $3.3, and the actual cost we estimate it between $1.6 to $3.5 for male and $1.2 to $2.7 per female. But you can see the ranges actually overlaps, meaning that the consumer internalize the risks associated with processed meat consumption very well, and the new equilibrium is now optimal in terms of the quantity that purchased. So I'll just conclude. In terms of causal effect, we found that the World Health Organization announcement caused a negative, significant, and persistent change in the equilibrium quantities of processed meats. Processed meats quantities dropped by 164 grams per household per month, which accounts for minus 18%. The effect is persistent and lasts for at least 2 years until the age of our data, and hence we conclude that mass media can be an effective channel for conveying nutritional information in the presence of health-related externality. In terms of heterogeneity, we find that low-income households and Russian immigrants did not significantly respond to the announcement, and unexpectedly, we do not find evidence to the effect of education on the household response. And finally, in terms of whether or not the new equilibrium is optimal, we found that the new equilibrium following the announcement is economically optimal, meaning households internalize the risk in processed meat consumption, and the new quantity following the announcement is now optimal and it's actually cleared the market. So that's it. If you have questions, I would be happy.
Thank you, Dr. Adam, for your presentation. Is anyone having any questions? Okay, no questions from anyone. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think Dr. Anka Mihalsi, are you ready with your presentation? Will you going to present in place of Dr. Franzana?
Unfortunately, I'm not. I'm just entered to see what's happening if she's not online, and I'm trying to reach her. I'm sorry.
Okay. Then I will proceed with another presentation.
Please. Yes, please.
Yeah. Please
Thank
make
you.
sure, because for this day that will be your last presentation. If Dr. Franzana will join, then after that we can schedule it. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, and sorry for the misunderstanding.
Okay. So our next presenter is Dr. Ramona Di Amico from University of Messina, Italy. Hello, Dr. Ramona. Dr. Ramona, we cannot able to hear you.
Hello.
Yes. We can able to see your screen. You can make it a full screen and start presentation. Yes, perfect.
I'm Ramona D'Amico, PhD from University of Messina. Today I talk about the protective effect of hydrox on cyclophosphamide-induced male infertility in a mouse model. Cancer is one of the most dangerous diseases in the world today. As a result, scientists have looked for a way to prevent it or improve patient quality of life. More than two-thirds of human cancer have believed to be preventable by a healthy lifestyle, which requires good nutrition. Prostate cancer is the most frequently diagnosed cancer in 105 countries, followed by lung cancer and liver cancer. Cyclophosphamide is an alkylating agent with an important cytotoxic effect that is commonly used as an anti-cancer or immunosuppressive treatment, in particular lymphoma, multiple myeloma, leukemia, prostate and breast cancer. Neuroblastoma and sarcoma are treated with this as a method of chemotherapy. Despite its wide spectrum of clinical use, CYP has several adverse effects such as lack of appetite, vomiting, hair loss, and other bleeding. CYP has shown to increase the risk of premature menopause in female and infertility in both male and female, with the risk increasing with cumulative drug dosage at patient's age. Infertility of this can be normal temporary, but this may also be permanent. True to the 405 CYP is metabolized based on unstable intermediates. 4-hydroxycyclophosphamide and phosphamide, and following into stable toxic intermediates, phosphoramide mustard and acrolein. Phosphoramide mustard prevents cell division by forming cross-linkage in DNA, both between and within DNA strand at guanine and 7 position. This is irreversible and lead to cell death. On the contrary, acrolein reactive aldehyde possesses the ability to generate toxic loss and subsequent affect urine tissue. Oxidative stress is one known key player in the pathogenesis of idiopathic male infertility. In fact, increased testicular oxidative stress may trigger a shift in the pattern of testicular microvascular blood flow, endocrine signal, contributing to a rise in germ cell apoptosis and eventually hyperspermatogenesis, making it a main factor in the etiology of male infertility. Under physiological condition, NRF2 is located in the cytoplasm bound with negative regulator KIP1. However, after stimuli, NRF2 is released from this complex and translated to the nucleus, what is sequentially bind to the oxidant response element, a regulatory enhancer regions with the gene promoter. This bind will use the production of several detoxifying and antioxidant enzyme genes, which protect cells from oxidative and a large range of other toxins. The human body has a very effective antioxidant network to define the against oxidative stress, involving primary enzymes such as superoxide, dismutase, glutathione, and caseins. Years, the concept that food can act as a medicine get more and more support from the scientist community. Many illnesses can be prevented or limited with diet abundant in plant food, allowing the processed product. The Mediterranean diet is the best example of a diet rich in antioxidant owing to its high fruit and vegetable content. The beneficial effects of hemp are generally due to the action of nutrients found in the food hidden, but the overall detail partner also improving body endogenous defenses by mechanisms that are still unknown. Olive oil is without a doubt the most common and well-known compound in hemp. This oil comes from the fruit of olive tree, Olea europea. Hydroxytyrosol is one of the most common phytochemicals present in oil. Several reports confirm its value. Hydroxytyrosol has a strong antioxidant capacity and the potential to destroy free radicals. Different studies demonstrate its cardioprotective, anti-cancer, neuroprotective, and antimicrobial effect. Additionally, hydroxytyrosol interacts with protein involving cell cycle regulation and gene expression and possess anti-inflammatory and anti-thrombotic properties. The focus of our study was to investigate if hydrox is able to limit the alteration in testicular tissue, oxidative stress, and CYP-induced apoptosis. Hydrox is a freeze-dried powder prepared from the aqueous portion of olives. A total of 12% of hydrox extract is made up of polyphenol. Among these, the most abundant in hydrox is hydroxytyrosol, at least 40–50%. The experimental model was induced in mice by a single intraperitoneal injection of CYP at the dose of 200 mg per kilo. Mice were treated with hydrox at the dose of 50 mg per kilo by oral lavage 1 hour after CYP injection and for the following 5 days. At the end of the experiment, tests and serum were collected for histological and biochemical analysis. Administration caused a decrease in sperm count, mobility, and viability. These alterations are reflecting the increase of abnormality. Additionally, harm to testes was shown by significant difference in testosterone levels between CYP-treated and other groups. Administration was capable to restoring the sperm parameter considered as well as the levels of testosterone. After CYP appeared while a small number of spermatozoa in human, reduction of the number of spermatozoa, and disorganized spermatogenic cells with the reduced number of spermatids. Additionally, the epithelial walls of seminiferous tubules was observed to be damaged and disrupted, and increased interstitial edema was shown. After hydrox administration at the dose of 50 mg per kilo, testicular tissue appeared restored with a normal number of spermatozoa, reduction in edema, and luminal disruption. Our result obtained by Western blot analysis showed a significant increase in NHER2 expression compared to sham mice after CYP injection. Additionally, H1 also decreased after CYP. These decreases are most completely restored after administration of hydrox at the dose of 50 mg per kilo. Additionally, we investigated these markers by ELISA kit and found that hydrox at the dose of 50 mg per kilo was able to counteract CYP-induced decrease, almost restoring superoxide dismutase, as well as glutathione and catalase. Apoptosis is closely connected with the oxidative stress. Biogenic analysis investigated the expression of Bax and BCL2 and found that in CYP-induced testicular damage, we observe an increase in Bax and decrease in BCL2 expression compared to control group. On contrary, hydrox administration was able to decrease Bax and increase BCL2 expression. Our study demonstrated for the first time that the oral administration of hydrox at the dose of 50 mg per kilo could be effective in reducing excess oxidative stress and preventing thermal damage, deprived of superoxide dissection and apoptosis in testes following CYP injection. Therefore, hydrox could be used as a dietary supplement to counteract prostate cancer and improve the quality of life of patients. Thank you for the attention, and I would like to thank my research group.
Thank you, Dr. Ramona, for your presentation. Is anyone having any questions? Okay, no questions from anyone. Thank you once again. So now we will move forward with the presentation of Dr. Franzana. Hello, Dr. Franzana. Hello. Are you ready with your presentation now? Hello, Dr. Franzana. Hello, Dr. Anka.
I am able to hear you, but
Yes.
I know Pranjana can't hear you.
Yeah, really? Okay. So can he present from your system?
No, but she said she entered second time and she managed to present.
Yeah, but from that time onwards, we are trying to reach, but we cannot able to hear her. So what
Okay.
should we do now? Yeah, yesterday it was perfect, right? We can able to hear her and have the presentation also, but don't know what happened today.
I don't know either. I'm far away from her, and
Okay.
actually I'm in other countries, so.
Oh, so actually, previously she able to hear me, and she answered me in the chat box also, but we cannot able to hear her. Hello, Dr. Franzana, are you online? Hello, Dr. Franzana. So what should we do now, Dr. Franzana? Can you please write it down in the chat box? Because we cannot able to hear you. You can listen to my words, but your voice is not at all audible to us. You can suggest me what should I do now, because we are going to end the program. We have only one more presentation from Dr. Rodolfo Pinto Almazan. So after that program will going to be end. So what should we do now, Dr. Franzana? We know that you are online, but so I'm sorry, Dr. Franzana, because the problem is there. So I will proceed with the presentation from Dr. Rodolfo Pinto Almazan from Hospital Regional de Alta, especially the Extrapoluca, Mexico. I'm sorry if I pronounced it wrong. Hello, Dr. Rodolfo.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay. Sorry about the delay. I was really worried because there was a lot of traffic over here in Mexico. It's 20 minutes from Mexico City. So sorry for this.
Okay,
I
no
was really
problem.
worried about this.
Yeah. So you have reached on time, so it's perfect. So you can share your presentation with us. You are the presenter now. You can click on the
Okay,
screen
let
button.
me. You can see my presentation.
Not right now.
Okay, so let me see. Mm,
Yeah, now it is visible.
yeah.
You can make it a full
Okay.
screen and start presenting.
Okay. 1 minute, please.
Yeah, perfect.
Sorry about that. The connectivity here is really bad, so I am right now with my cell phone trying to present this phone. Sorry. Well, good afternoon. Here in Mexico, it's morning. I know that you are in the world. Good afternoon. My name is Rodolfo Pinto Almazan, and it's an honor to
I'm
be
sorry,
with you
Dr.
today to
Rodolfo.
present
Now
the.
there is disturbance from your side. Like we cannot able to hear you properly. Earlier it was better. Now we cannot able to hear you properly.
Okay,
Yeah, you can
there you
continue.
go.
Yes, now it is
Okay,
perfect.
sorry about that. Okay, sorry about that. Well, it's a good afternoon. My name is Rodolfo Pinto Almazan, and for me, it's an honor to be with you today to present the results of a is multi-target drugs in silico and in vivo evaluation and their possible use as treatment for metabolic syndrome. Well, in the presentation, we will address the topics as follows. As for the background, first generation drugs that we have designed, the design of these drugs and clinical studies and clinical evaluation, the synthesis and vivo evaluation. The second generation, these drugs, the design and in clinical evaluation, synthesis, in vivo evaluation, and the conclusions of this. Well, as background, we have that epidemiology of metabolic syndrome is a non-communicable disease of the great global importance, as it's suffered by approximately percent of the population over the 18 years old on all continents. And the problem is that it's being greater prevalence in urban areas. This is largely due to increase in taking by increasing the consumption of hypercaloric diets and with the decrease in physical activity. This pathology is composed by a constellation of several aspects of metabolic aspects, like dyslipidemia, that is hypercholesterolemia and hypertriglyceridemia, hypertension, central obesity, insulin resistant, and glucose intolerance. The definition of the metabolic syndrome has been addressed by several organizations, and the criteria is basically the best. It's the ATP3 and the IDF, that is International Diabetes Federation. These two organizations consider that at least 3 of these characteristics, of these 5 characteristics, has to be in one person to consider as metabolic syndrome. You can the most important, and they have suggest that central obesity is the central part of metabolic syndrome. Central obesity, and 2 of the other characteristics will be metabolic syndrome. As in all the world, in Mexico, the situation is no different, because it is estimated that more than 40% of Mexicans have the metabolic syndrome, at least 3 factors associated with this. The worst thing is that many of these
Hello, Dr. Rodolfo. We cannot able to hear your voice. Can you please once check? Hello, Dr. Rodolfo. I think he is offline. Hello, Dr. Rodolfo. Okay, might be a technical issue or network issue. He left with us. So we will wait for a few more minutes so that he will join and continue. Okay, he has not yet joined, so we will go with Dr. Franzana presentation. Hello, Dr. Franzana.
Hello.
Yeah, perfect. Thank God now it is audible. So I'm going to make you the presenter. Yes. Can you please
Okay.
share your screen with us?
Yes. Can you see my screen?
Not right now. Yeah, now it is visible. Yes. You
Thank you.
can make it somewhat more zoom so that we can see clearly, can see the content.
Is it better now?
Yeah, you can make it somewhat more zoom, right? Or else, okay, there is no problem. You can continue. So I would request all the attendees. There is a plus and minus sign, zoom in and zoom out buttons on your screen. You can click on that to see the content clearly. Okay, Dr. Franzana, you can continue. Yeah, please make it a
Okay,
full
thank you.
screen. Yeah, yeah, perfect. Please continue.
Okay,
Hmm.
thank you. Certain diseases and illnesses, more often than not, lead to feelings of embarrassment and shame affecting the daily lives of these patients as well as their families. That is due to their nature or due to their social load and either the severity and chronicity, such as diabetes. Feeling ashamed shows that you are lagging behind in something, such as when you have a chronic illness, such as diabetes. It includes the whole person, his soul and body. Shame is registered in the conscious emotions, and sufferers feel that they have lost their prestige and their value in the daily interpersonal relationships has decreased, such as the care that should be provided to them and the definition of role within family. Thus, both the person who is ill and those around him often experience a special emotional state which is indicative of shame. The purpose of this survey is to investigate the association of diabetes with the feeling of shame experienced by diabetics. The feeling of shame. The feeling of shame is a feeling of the conscious, and it's a common finding in caregivers of diabetics, as it is considered a normal reaction which stems from the difference of the individual in relation to the healthy population and the fear of possible rejection or criticism from the wider social context. Shame is an emotion which is typical population that does not suffer from any pathology, is related to the deviation of mental or physical characteristics of the individual from the established social stereotypes which may lead to this rejection by society itself. According to Gilbert, 1998, it's an unpleasant to be in the social world as an unwanted self, a self that no one wants to be. Shame is an involuntary response to the knowledge that someone has lost his prestige and their value has diminished. An important reason for this is lack of information about certain diseases, which leads to fear and suspicion, and consequently, the more frequent social isolation of those suffering from them. Such diseases are, for example, those that are directly related to a person's sexual life. Examples include AIDS, erectile dysfunction, various gynecological diseases, and the corresponding male diseases. The shame associated with sex becomes more complex through the stigma of the disease and more intense through worries that they may be characterized as sinners, irresponsible, etc. The shame of a member of the family who suffers from diabetes causes shame to the people close to them. There are also ways for people to defend themselves against shame, such as indifference and not emphasizing difference from other people. Parents play an important role in the child's life and are often a role model for the child, as parents provide children with a foundation so they can develop into healthy, social adapted adults. The beliefs, knowledge, perception, and feelings of the parent contribute to the development of the child and the formation of his personality. Thank you very much. Are there any questions, please?
Thank you, Dr. Franzana, for your presentation. Do anyone have any questions? Okay, no questions from anyone. Thank you once again. So, we will wait for a few minutes for Dr. Rodolfo to join the program. No, actually, I just said thank you, Dr. Franzana. I think there are no questions from
Thank you
anyone.
very much.
Yes,
Okay, thank you a lot.
thank you. So, can I know who is with the name caller 3 with us? I cannot see the name.
This conference will now be recorded.
Sorry, we just tried to contact Dr. Rodolfo regarding his presentation, but he cannot able to join, it seems, and it's taking much more time, and we have no presentation left for the day. So from this, we are going to end this day 2 webinar. Thank you for your all presence and making this webinar a successful. We will send you the certificates to you by email and will inform you the next dates of the conference to you through email. Thank you and have a nice day. We'll meet you in this next webinar.